Good morning. This is day 91 of making little videos to describe a day or thought in the life of the schizophrenic Dominic. I am a schizophrenic and I experience schizophrenia, but I don't believe that I am diseased or crazy. And I believe that the world has turned things around and done crazy things to me and then said, "You're crazy." They warred upon me. Uh, in day 17 of these videos and day 45 of these videos, I describe little 3-minute intros, and on day 17, it describes why I describe myself as schizophrenic rather than targeted individual. And I have my book posted to medium.com, which I share at the end of these topic sections of these posts. And okay, I'll get into my topics today. I describe little thoughts and things and read little things out of books at a slow pace. And then I document synchronicity and feedback I get from the public or from the government or, yeah. So I recently took a few days off these videos because I went to Disneyland and California Adventure for a few days to celebrate my birthday, my 40th, and my dad's 70th. We had that planned going back to January and really planned for a while, but I saved up. We did that, and it was a lot of fun. And I went with my family, and we took everybody there, and it was a grand time. It was went better than even I could have ever expected, and I didn't expect to do so much with the big group, and we actually did a lot. And I was thinking like maybe I dragged my family there, but they said they loved it and they had a fun time. So all right, so that was cool, and I have a lot of fun. And to me, the better of the two parks is California Adventure and Disney. I actually got a little bit sick on the Disneyland day. My family stayed for 16 hours at the park that day, and I went back to the hotel to rest for a couple hours before I came back out. And so, yeah, my dad was the Iron Man, my sister and Scarlett, and they were the Iron Man for that day, and Tyler. And I was out for the count, but I recovered for the next day and I had a good time. So I had 2.5 really good days there, and it was a lot of fun. All right, I was going to say something about this. Donald Trump is planning a $92 million uh, birthday party, and he's going to throw a military parade and everything as he's cutting the government and everything in the middle of all this crazy shit he's doing. And that's supposed to be me. I'm supposed to be Donald Trump because I went on my birthday party in the middle of all this stuff going on, and I've expressed it feels a little weird to do that, but you know, I had that planned, and probably to be quite honest, the protests were probably planned on that day for a particular reason to have this like schizo feedback narrative about Donald Trump and the birthday bash and stuff like that. So, uh, whatever. uh, but looking at the protest that happened on the 5th, it was pretty cool to see millions of people in the street, and so that was exciting. And it was like a little uh, gift to everybody that people did that. So it makes it feel like, oh, you're not the only person out here that doesn't think like this is normal and stuff. And so it's an expression of dissatisfaction with what's going on. And so, yeah, I don't know what's going to come of it, but looks like there's day of action on the 19th and everything, and Bernie's having a rally on the 12th. So we were going to go to the Bernie rally, but then I started thinking like, our group is like people in their 60s and 70s, and I don't know if standing out in the sun at 1 o'clock in the afternoon is that smart of an idea. But yeah, so maybe if they have something in an arena, we could go. But I think if there's other protests that's like the one that happened most recently, where there's that many people going out for it, then I could probably go out for it because I could just blend in to the crowd and it won't be a big deal or anything like that. So, uh, yeah. Uh, yeah, so if things happen, if more protests happen on the corner here in Santa Clarita, I could probably go. And I've explained all that in previous posts, but okay. In my Never Enough book, it discusses hubristic pride. And this is a problem, the author says, because uh, this is extrinsic pride where you get approval from other people for your actions or your behavior or your achievements or whatever, and other people are approving. You're doing what you're doing for other people's approval and everything, as opposed to self worth and self pride. So, like, if you have self pride in what you're doing, then you don't need to have all this accolades or approval from other people about what you're doing. And self worth is central to self pride in that respect. And so, now obviously, self pride can get overdone to an extreme degree, but it's just she was just talking about the difference between hubristic pride, and that she said that a big problem today for kids growing up is hubristic pride. And so, yeah. Uh, in my Fingerprints of the God book, it discusses mass extinction cataclysm as it keeps going on and on about this. It goes on for quite a while. And it's describing how in 11,000 BC or so, there's all these animals that were torn apart and twisted and found all over the sediment or the ground there, that going back to those dates. And there's no real explanation for why they were twisted like that. So the belief is that there was some sort of cataclysm regarding that, and there was some sort of upheaval in the earth. And so that's the theory. And uh, I was thinking, like, we talk about climate change today, like it's going to destroy a city or a civilization or something, and where it's going to go underwater and stuff. But what if it, like, I was thinking, like, maybe we could experience some sort of crazy cataclysm like that in the future. And so, it had me thinking, like, I wonder if, like, maybe if people understand, like, cataclysmic things can happen on Earth if you mess with the climate, that maybe we will uh, take care not to mess up with the climate too much, because right now all that happens is, like, people think, oh, it's just a few degrees hotter, the hurricanes are a little bit stronger, and I think people don't think of it as, like, there's potential for uh, mass problems with it. And I mean, a lot of people know, but a lot of people don't know. So, all right. In Things Fall Apart book, it's discussing a gentleman by the name of uh, I can't read the name. Oh, Ubuefi Izuego, Izugo, and Buefi Izugo, and he was a father of a girl in the book, as far as the characters go, of a girl that was killed by a local village in a local by people in a local village. And this village of Umofia was very powerful, and he starts whipping these people up into a frenzy, and he starts whipping the crowd up into, like, war, 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 and he's getting them real angry and stuff like that, and he's declaring, like, unless they sacrifice a guy and a girl, that they will, the other town, if they sacrifice a guy and a girl, hand them over to us, then we will declare war on their village. And so yeah, I was just reminded of, like, things that go on today. Like, you take a look at, like, 9/11 and whatever that was, and in the book, in the Things Fall Apart book, the author is writing how the guy's, like, has a twinkle in his eye. He's, like, smiling as he talks about war, even though his daughter just died or something, or his family member just died. And uh, it reminds me of, like, 9/11 or whatever. How, like, there was an attack on America. It's a little shadowy about, like, who did the attack and who had the capabilities to escape the surveillance system in the United States, and now that we know a lot more about that, about monarch and mind control and mind reading and satellite surveillance, it doesn't seem feasible to me that it was, some Arab guys in a cave, and then Osama bin Laden, was in the CIA and stuff. Anyway, so the attack happens, 3,000 people are killed allegedly, and so then you have this massive war afterwards that kills millions of people, hundreds of thousands to millions of people, and it's like it's outsized response, and it's like this bloodlust of like we will show you not to mess with us, and we will kill all these people or whatever. And that reminds me of Israel and Palestine, where you have situation where you have a local village is Palestine, and then you have the powerful group in Israel, and an attack happens on October 7th. It's a little shady as to how the attack could have possibly happened without surveillance knowing about it, and then it results in this massive basic genocide of Palestinians. And so it reminded me of this book a little bit, and this Things Fall Apart book, and about this Umofia or whatever. And so it's an age old thing in human society: war, colonialism, uh, vengeance, and things like that. And uh, yeah, so I'm reading about that in the book, and seems kind of interesting where the author is going. I read very slowly on the book, so yeah. In Olajuwon's book, in the Olajuwon Dream book that I'm reading, it describes that he was allowed to be tall, and he was allowed to be tall and take up space as a basketball player, and this appealed to Olajuwon because for most of his life he was always made fun of for being tall, and he was picked on for being tall. And in basketball, he could take up space, he could swing his arms, he could block shots and do things like that, and use his athleticism, and he could really come into his own. Like he was allowed to be himself on the basketball court, and so it's kind of cool to see that. That basketball. You always think like uh, those basketball players have such an advantage for being tall or whatever as a short guy, and I'm thinking like, oh, you know they had to go through their whole life being the tall, weird, giggly guy. I don't really think that people that way, but like some people do, and so now they have a spot to excel, and so that's kind of nice. Uh, it the other thing is the thing I'm reading is that Olajuwon had intangibles that appealed to his coach, such as being respectful of his elders. Uh, he was easy to learn. He had a sharp intellect, and so that was cool to learn about that about Olajuwon. And when he started off, his teammates didn't think much of him because he messed up the footwork and everything like that. And that's kind of funny because he turned out to be like the elite footwork guy in basketball history, really, as a post player. So that's interesting. And he started at 16. So uh, in Harari's book, the Noah Yuval Harari's book, Homo Deus, he discusses factory farming, and it reminded me of my effort to try to eat more vegetarian. And factory farming is pretty terrible. And I was reminded when I got home from the trip to Disneyland and all that, there was a bee in our house, and it was struggling to live, and I swept it outside. And I was thinking like it was. I was just thinking that bee suffering and struggling to live is just another example to me of how life that I should probably eat vegetarian, and so I'm trying to eat as much vegetarian as I can, and all my planned meals are vegetarian. After 1,900 calories, I eat a little bit of meat, but I think I'm going to switch to olives after 1900 calories. So we'll see how that goes. I'll probably eat chicken at restaurants for healthy options. But all right, so yeah, that's what I'm doing today. That was my day today. I'm a little bit under the weather, so thank you for putting up with this video. Goodbye.